This is Payback. Nikola former CEO Trevor Milton ordered to pay $165 million in damages. And I'm looking forward to this date. November 28th is when his sentencing is expected to be held. But that $165 million is not enough because he has sold nearly $300 million worth of Nikola stock since criminal fraud charges. There is an anonymous post online which supposedly reveals the Cybertruck price. He says that Tesla actually called him, asking him to make the final purchase, but the details seem a bit unexpected, making it likely that this was just a prank. He says that a tri-motor version would cost $99,000 basically. If Tesla is already actively reaching out to customers, we should hear a lot more information very soon. So for now, I'm not jumping to any conclusions until we hear a lot more. Tesla stock is no longer the #1 position in the biggest ARK Invest fund. It is now the #2 position, but I haven't seen Alexander post anything about ARK Invest selling more Tesla stock. So I think this is all because Tesla stock fell recently. In other words, I think we might see ARK Invest starting to buy more Tesla stock relatively soon. So while at first this could appear as bad news, this is not. Unless they start selling more Tesla stock, which seems unlikely at this time. However, I just realized that Ross Gerber sold more Tesla stock. This is actually a significant reduction of Tesla stock in his portfolio. Now, Ross Gerber does manage a lot of money in private accounts. His ETF is just a tiny portion of his Tesla stock shares. So you only really want to look at percentages here. His target allocation for Tesla stock supposedly is 8.5%, but the position is now down to 6.18%, and yet Ross sold more Tesla stock. I am not selling though, I am only buying more Tesla stock. Here's Consumer Reports Advanced Driver Assist Systems rankings, and supposedly Tesla is only #7. Ford, of course, was ranked #1, and that absolutely, definitely has nothing to do with Ford being a philanthropic partner of Consumer Reports. Nissan considers electrification to spark its pickup fortunes. Nissan is said to be exploring a lightweight electric pickup that could come to market at the start of the next decade. Get ready to start seeing a lot more of this. The Model Y just became the best-selling vehicle in Denmark, and that's not it. The Tesla Model Y has broken a 10-year-old sales record in Denmark, where more units of the electric SUV have been sold in a single year than any other car in the country's history. And the vehicle that previously held the record is called Volkswagen Up. I guess they should rename it to Volkswagen Down. Here's some new good data. The Model Y is slightly outperforming versus the last quarter in the daily reporting countries in Europe, but the Model 3 sales are of course pretty much zero, and that's completely fine because there's no inventory really yet. Tesla will need Europe sales to set a record in Q4 to reach the quarterly target of 480,000. James is looking for 110,000 sales in Europe. And here's the chart. The current quarter is in this color and the last quarter is in this light blue color. We are slightly ahead, not by a lot, but clearly slightly ahead. That's of course good news because the daily reporting countries often reflect Tesla's overall sales in all of Europe. Not always, but often. Gary Black responded to this argument from Tesla stock bears. Gary, there is a real risk there will be zero growth in revenue in 2024. I wouldn't be surprised to see 50% or more of the early Cybertruck sales cannibalize the Model Y or X sales, as the folks buying these vehicles are already would-be X or Y buyers. And here's Gary's response, with which I agree. This was the Tesla bear argument about the Model Y in 2020 and 2021 when it first came out, that 50% of sales would come from Model 3. I took the view that just 10% of Model Y sales would be cannibalized from Model 3 because Model 3 and Model Y were in two different segments. Model 3 was sedans and Model Y was CUVs. Any cannibalization would be from the Model X sales and not Model 3 sales. In 2021 overall, Tesla sales growth soared 87% from 36% in 2020. This year, Tesla will probably grow somewhere, not too far from that number also. So it's a bit of a deja vu that many investors are having. There was almost no Model 3 cannibalization as Model 3 sales surged 41% as the interest in Model Y created a halo effect for the entire Tesla franchise. Now, even though many Tesla stock investors have a bit of a deja vu, the Cybertruck market is not as big as the Model Y market. So I'm not expecting Tesla to grow 87% next year, definitely not. And there could be issues scaling the Cybertruck in the beginning. But the point here is that the sales will not come from sales that would have been Model Y sales. These vehicles are just too different. This is terrible. California DMV says that Cruise failed to disclose its autonomous vehicle moved after colliding with a pedestrian that was thrown towards the vehicle from a hit and run, which may have caused additional injury to the pedestrian due to dragging the person further after impact. So the permit was revoked for omission. Cruise denies they cropped the video, but I don't know. Incidents are inevitable, but if you cover it up and you cut the video to make yourself look better and you cut out really important parts, then yeah, you deserve getting your permit revoked. Yesterday, we saw Tesla begin deliveries of the refreshed Model 3 in Italy, and today they begun in France. So one important market after another one is getting the refresh Model 3s. There's this sort of accusation about Tesla that's going around on X. Teslas are only so efficient because they report the mixed EPA cycle. Their strong motor recuperation gives them advantages, but on the highway with less braking, they fall behind other EVs. So AJ has done some digging and found out that, for example, the Toyota BZ4X used different tires, and Tesla does not use these tires, but then it would use these tires. Actually, even the performance Model Y would then beat the Toyota BZ4X, but without making any adjustments for tires, the two models right here would actually still beat the Toyota BZ4X safely. This is just pure highway, by the way, and it is EPA data. So yeah, smaller and narrower tires, of course, will give you a boost. That's some good research from AJ. Tesla is planning a new congestion fee at supercharger stations and is building on top of an already supposedly controversial practice. Back in 2018, Tesla introduced a new feature at supercharger stations to help shorten charging sessions during busy times. The automaker started to limit owners' state of charge to 80%. That's like high traffic size, but most people don't charge to 100% anyway, and the last 20% is much slower to get to. So this would have the opportunity to greatly reduce the average charging session time. However, it was worrying to many owners, as you sometimes do need to charge more than to 80%. What can you do in those cases? Well, Tesla quickly modified the feature to automatically set the state of charge of vehicles at those stations at 80%, but owners could still manually increase it back to 100% if they wanted to. This has been the solution for years and quelled most owners' concerns, but now Tesla is apparently seeing the need for a more drastic approach, I guess, especially with all of these automakers that will start using the network. We know about this because the Tesla hacker Green peeked into this new update, and he did find that there's this code that shows that the congestion fee is going to be added seemingly. I think if you need to charge to more than 80% to get to the next charger, I think you shouldn't pay any congestion fees. But if you do not need to charge to more than 80% to get to the next charger, I think it's quite fair. And over time, as Tesla builds a lot more superchargers everywhere, this will become a lot less of a problem anyway. So I don't really see a major issue here long term. We're not seeing a lot of Cybertrucks every single day coming out of the factory, but there is a slow trickle for now. We see 3 Cybertrucks here, and then there were 2 more here. So that was yesterday, and today we have a few more here. It appears that Tesla just reached 2,000 charging locations in the US, so a big shout out goes to the Tesla team. And it is now officially official. that the first V4 supercharger is actually open in the US. I like using FSD if I'm going through roads that I know pretty well and I already tried FSD there. If I have passengers in my car, if I don't have any passengers, I don't mind driving with FSD on throughout the whole trip. But this is what I mean when I say FSD sometimes just does something really
Not
weird.
doing anything, but I'm ready. And just think, if this was your first day ever on FSD, you're like, oh, I haven't done anything in 5 minutes. Well, you better be ready. Right here. I mean, what the hell?
So if it's just me, I don't mind these, but if I have passengers in the car, that really scares my passengers. Also, for example, right here, this is just a few seconds later in the same video, there's a stop sign on the right side which does not apply to us here. But if you can see the text, it says stopping for stop sign. It's not stopping for the traffic light, it's just stopping for stop sign. Although at first it does say stopping for traffic light, but then a few moments later it says stopping for stop sign. These are really rare, but they do happen sometimes, so you have to pay very close attention the whole time. And I assume with FSD 12, a lot of these issues are going to be solved. Tesla has created a new X account for manufacturing. I think they should create one more new account which reposts every single post by every single Tesla account. There are so many now. There are 18 different accounts already. But of course, Elon owns the platform, so this is probably the best strategy. It's just a bit difficult to keep track of everything for us. Someone posted this anonymously on Facebook. Look at all of these Cybertrucks parked here. 5 years from now, that could be not really a very rare sighting. The UAW president said, we are done. We have tried to do things the right way. We have taken our time. We have been patient with these companies. It's time to amp up the pressure. So it seems like more strikes are incoming. But in the meantime, the UAW is now seeking raises totaling at least only 5% from the Detroit 3, a significant reduction from this original demand of 40%. Stellantis and GM definitely feel the pressure, and they actually just let go of a few more people. Not that many, but some. Honda is abandoning plans to build affordable EVs with GM. But it's not really because they think that GM is a terrible company. They said, after studying this for a year, we decided, Honda, that this would be difficult as a business. So at the moment, we are ending development of an affordable EV. And their previous timeline was pretty slow. The first models, including electric compact crossover vehicles, were expected to roll out in 2027. So now that would be even later, I assume. The Japanese automakers are not really doing well here at all. They are failing badly. Mercedes has announced pricing of its all-electric 2024 Maybach EQS SUV. The starting price is $181,000. If you have 200,000 and you want to make an impression that you have a weird sense of style, then this car is probably for you. I don't know, it doesn't look terrible, but for the price, yeah, I don't know. The inside, of course, looks really nice. Jeff says that this vehicle has worse specs than a 44,000 Tesla Model Y. A Toyota executive just said this: EVs currently don't make sense in countries like Australia, where the majority of electricity continues to come from coal-fired power stations. But the Model Y is the best-selling overall car or SUV in Australia already. He continued saying, right now, hybrid electric vehicles are a better fit than battery electric vehicles for most consumers. They are more affordable and don't require charging infrastructure. They are cars for the masses, not for the few, he told Australian journalists. We already know that based on the data from China, that even if the electricity comes from a coal plant, overall it's better for the environment to drive an EV. But that's not the point here. The point is that an EV is actually a better vehicle, and Tesla is doing incredibly well in Australia. Smart companies are cutting back on their reliance on LiDAR when it comes to autonomous driving, which is what Xpeng is doing, but it doesn't change the fact that they are extremely behind Tesla. They do not have millions of vehicles on the roads collecting data every single day. Xpeng continues to copy Tesla, and now they are working on a robot. The founder says that the Xbot will be used internally, and he goes on to say when he gets old, Xbot will be capable to change his diaper. Sounds pretty odd, I agree. That's actually what he said. Remember Dan O'Dowd, the billionaire who owns Green Hill Software and says he does not compete with Tesla but wants to ban Tesla's FSD? Well, Omar says, I have just received confirmation from a source at General Motors that the company does indeed use Green Hill Software. Lost F-35, Green Hill Software. First self-driving car to ever get its permit pulled in history, Green Hill Software. He says, Omar says, sensing a pattern here. Canada and the US sort of do the same thing often when it comes to interest rates, and Bank of Canada has just announced that they are not changing the interest rates today, so that's good news for us Tesla stock investors overall. And I'd like to thank all of my Patreon supporters. By joining my Patreon, you will get access to how much I think it is fair to pay per Tesla share each year between 2023 and 2033. If you sign up for the investor tier of support, you will also get my valuation model of Tesla stock with a 45-minute video walkthrough. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching that discussion about the future with Elon Musk, watch this one first. My name is Matt Potius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.